Amazing. Thank you so much for joining today this session, like information webinar about ESA activities, where you can learn about how to share, how to best present your ideas and your expression of interest. My name is Rashi. I'm the director of Project Support Unit and Erasmus Mundus Association. We have Marvi with us, the president of our association, and I also have Caroline with me from PSU, who will be sharing more details about the whole process, how we are planning it, what it is required from you in terms of submission, and how can you best present your ideas for the activities. So welcome once again, and I hope this information session will be useful for you, and we receive a lot of good activities ideas which you can work on. Caroline, would you like to take the lead from here?
Thank you, Rasi, and warm welcome to everyone. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are from. I'm Caroline. I'm based in Aarhus, Denmark. So now it's 3 p.m. here. And today from PSU, we are so glad that we could host this webinar to reintroduce you to an ESA activities, because we have an ongoing call happening in autumn 2025. If we go to the next slide, please, Rashi. So today we will review 4 things and followed by Q&A. So we want to let you know what are the objective, structure, and scale of the current ESA activities call. What is the process for you to apply to this call? And the very important point, when is the deadline? So you can submit it on time. And then what course can and cannot be supported, what is eligible, what is not eligible. And then the last one would be the reporting requirements and all the details of records that you need to keep if your activities are accepted. Then, before we start, it's very important that we check a few things with you. So if we go to the next slides, and please give a thumbs up reaction if the answer to this question is yes. Are you, whoever you are in this call, are you an EMA member? Yes, I see some thumbs up. That is good. So you are in the right call. Second question, are you passionate about your Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree Program? I have 2 thumbs for this.
Of course.
Then, would you like to widen the participation of your programs for people who are currently underrepresented? If I have 3, I would use 3 thumbs for this. And the last question, I can see a lot of thumbs up, so that's very good. And then the last one, do you have some spare time to contribute as a volunteer and to give something back to your communities? I can see more thumbs up. So these are very good. Yeah. So from this moment onwards, then we will learn on how this project call will help you as a volunteer in EMA. If you go to the next slide, please. Then, since we already have the check that this call is for you, then it's important that you know or understand what is this call about. So ESA activities under Work Package 3 is part of the Commission support towards or European Commission support contract towards us, the student and alumni network members, including EMA. The objective of this Work Package 3 or ESA activities under Work Package 3 is to support us, the Erasmus Plus International Student and Alumni Network members, for any activities and events from all over the world to increase our role as the ambassador of Erasmus Plus program. But it has to be within the specific regional budget allocation available. Then the next question is, what is these activities about? What type of activities that you could do under work package 3? So we can see that there are specific activities. So it could be networking and professional development, could be updates on European programs and policies, supporting grassroots initiatives. And the next one, which is the most important one, in my opinion, is sharing Erasmus Mundus experience. And then the last one, that would be the follow-up of this sharing your experience, which is mentoring activities for current and prospective Erasmus Mundus students. Then, now we know what kind of activities that can be supported. Who can apply for this call? First of all, that's why it was in the first questions, you need to be an EMA member or the members of the organizations under ESA. And then who can participate in the activities that you will plan or your event that you are planning. Then they could be EMA members, prospective students, or local communities, or anyone in your, if there is any grassroots initiatives. Then where the activities can take place, basically in short, it can take place in the targeted regions. So it could be the EU member states where Erasmus Plus program, or in our case is Erasmus Joint Master Degree Program, is located, and any associated third countries that's associated to the program. There is also Western Balkan, South Mediterranean, and those countries listed in the where part. And then when these calls happens throughout the year, and then I don't know how familiar you are with the organization of ESA. So ESA is an umbrella alliances. It's abbreviation for Erasmus Plus Students and Alumni Alliance. It includes for organization as EMA, ESN, Garage Erasmus, and also Oceans. We also have two cousins organizations, which is Western Balkan Alumni Associations and ASAF, African Student and Alumni Forum. Then if we go to the why we as an EMA member should apply for this call for activities, then we will see it in the next slides, where you could be the ambassador of your program. I'm an alumni of Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degree Program in Economics of Globalization and European Integration. And you also graduated or are still studying in one of the program. So the why would be, let's go to the next slide, please, Rashid. The next one. Then you can, through these activities, you could develop great networking opportunities between your cohort, connecting your cohort and the previous cohort or the alumni, and also the prospective students. You can share your experience with the prospective students and all the valuable experience that you had in the past. And then you can also contribute to strengthen the relations between the EU and its partner countries in the world, where you are from or where you are based right now. Then if we go to the next one. So now we understand what is the S activities is about. And we understand that the call is throughout the year. And we are so lucky that we are first EMA members, and we can apply through this, to this call for expression of interest. And we have an ongoing autumn 2025 call. And therefore, we have the webinars today. So this call in autumn 25, it's specifically targeted towards 4 type of activities. So we call them activities 3.2.1 for the first activities. So that's any activities in updating European programs and policies. The second one is to support grassroots initiatives. The third one is activities for members to share their Erasmus Plus experience at an individual level. And the last one would be the mentoring activities. And then this call has been announced in our social media platform and also in our community portal. Then, if now you are wondering, now you know that you are eager or you have an idea of the kind of activities or event that you would like to apply, then you need to start thinking in which type of activity should that ideas fit in these four categories, because it's very important that you could map those activities. It could also be the case that your activities fall between two categories. That's also fine as long as you can map them correctly. Why it's also important for us to pay attention to the specific call that we have here in autumn, because we can see the unit of activities available in this call. So if you think strategically, if you would like to apply for activity one, you can see that only 2 units that's available for the whole network organization. So this is not only for EMA, yeah, this is for EMA, ESN, WEBA, ASAF, for all network. So there are only 2 units will be funded for the first activities. And if we see activity number 2 and 3, there are 20 units. So you can strategically think of, which activity should I apply for based on the available information here. And all this information is also fully available in the community portal. If you see, there is a guideline documents, and this is the Bible for you to understand better the call for expression of interest in this autumn. So I would suggest you start from there. So if we back to the kind of activities that you can initiate, so as an EMA member, I know that many of us, we are doing different mentoring activities or share our Erasmus experience in our home country or where we are based. And most of the time, we know that we are all volunteer, and then most of the time we would use our own resources. Let's say you need a venue, then you contact your university or the office that you are from. So most of the time you volunteer with your time, but there is no resources. But through this call, this is a very good opportunities for you to get support financially for this. The only caveat on this is you need to be very mindful of all the guidelines and requirements that we have for the calls. If you comply with all the requirements, submit it on time, then and at the end your expression of interest or activity that you plan granted funding, then that will be really good for you and your team to initiate these activities. And then if we see at the budget limit side in each of the activity, we can see also in the documents, in the guideline documents, all of this budget limit per physical activity. And it's very important that we have a differentiation between what is a physical activity and what is an online activity. And all this budget only, it's only for the activities that's happen in person or physical. If it's online, then you will get support on the cost of the online platform for sure, and other justified expense for the participants will be covered at an ad hoc basis with prior approval. So when you apply, you need to already mention all the possible costs that's needed, given if it's online or a physical activity. We can go to the next one. Then we mentioned several times that there are targeted regions. So this is the regions that's listed according to the guidelines from the commission, and then there are the original budget share per region. And then after we had 2 calls this year. So after the call already happened, and then some of the activities granted some funding for their activities, then there is a current status. So in this call in autumn, it's very important that you check when you are planning the activity, you check whether the country or region where you plan your activity or event takes place is underrepresented or overrepresented. And then, of course, if you would like to increase the chance of your EOIs being accepted, you should go to the underrepresented region or countries. And this information is also available in the guidelines. Then after we understand the why, now it's very important to also understand the how, right? So the first, we will go now through each of the process flow. So we start with the review of the guidance note. So this guidance note is available in EMA community portal. So if someone later on asks where can I read this guidance note, and it's not available in the social media, and this is very important that the guidelines documents can only be read by the members of the EMA. Otherwise, we would receive, EOIs from the non-member, which is not eligible. And then after you review the guidelines or the guidance notes, then you would need to submit your initial EOIs. The current deadline that we have is 31st of August 2025. And if you submit your initial EOIs by this deadline, then you will be able to get feedback from us in project support unit. Then after you get the feedback, then you can submit the final EOIs or expression of interest with various deadlines. So for the activities 3, which is sharing your experience, there are 2 deadlines. First one is the 10th of September, and the second one is the 7th of October. And then for the rest of other activities, other than activities 3.2.3, there's only one deadline for you to submit the final EOIs, which is 13th of September. So I think these deadlines are very important to remember, that, if you already know which activities that you would like to apply, and pay attention to each of the deadlines. Then after you submit the final EOIs, and then there will be a shortlisting by the EMA Management Board, and a shortlist of EOIs plus a reserve list of it will be forwarded to the Erasmus Plus support service team. And then there will be an evaluation from the ESS team, where your EOIs will be assessed or at the predefined criteria as set out in the guidance note. And then the strongest application will be shared with the ESA lesson group, and then the final decision by the ESA lesson group and the ESAA, which the most highly rated EOIs will be selected for support, or you will get the funding to implement your activities or events. And then the successful applicants will be informed of the result. And the last one will be the implementation and reporting. So you have the time to implement your events or activities until the end of the year. And the final report should be submitted by the end of January. 10th of January 26. Yes, that was a lot of information of the process flow. We know that this is for a webinar that's heavy duty information, but we just think that it's very important for our members to understand that they need to follow all the information in the guidelines. So when you apply for the EOIs, you will need to submit a budget planning and estimation of costs. This is a simple Excel sheet when you would share what is the expected cost of your activities. In this template, you will be able to see what is eligible cost, what is ineligible cost, and make sure that, of course, you only put the eligible ones, because otherwise it will not be accepted. And then a special note on the eligible costs. When you apply or plan an events or activities, you would need sometimes you need a promotional materials like a flyer, posters, banners. So if it's needed, then you need to mention this specifically in your budget planning and estimation cost file, and mention that you need this material for the for the dissemination or to print a flyer for your activities, and then make sure that you justify why it's needed. Sometimes if it's underrepresented country, it's important to introduce, what is the activity is about. Just make sure that it's justified upfront. There is another template that you need to fill in, which is the activity plan. And in this template, it's a simple Gantt chart that you would need to know what is the activity type, what is the plan, and then what is the action, describe what is the action, who is the responsible person or organization, and when will it happen. So as we discussed before, this is the deadlines. I think this is the important dates that you need to keep in mind to make sure that your EOIs can be, can be taken into consideration for the further grading. Then in any applications, as an applicant, I think it's also important to understand how to make sure that your application is a success one. And how do you do that? Is to understand what is the criteria to have the highest score possible, right? And for this call, we have two kind of criteria. The first one is eligibility, and the second one is the selection criteria. I think the most important one is the eligibility criteria. It doesn't matter how good your application is. If you are not eligible to apply for this, then it will not go anywhere. So the application will be eligible if the applicants are EMA members. So you need to be able to prove that you are a student of one of the Erasmus joint master degree, or you are an alumni. And to be able to prove it, it could be a diploma or a proof that you have been recently accepted to the programs. And then the second eligibility criteria is the activity will take place in eligible country or region, which is also available in the guidelines note. Then if you are 100% sure that you are eligible to apply, then we go to the next one, which is the selection criteria. Let's say you spend a week to write your EOIs. Then while you are preparing it, you need to understand whether this criteria is fulfilled. Relevance, impact and added value, clarity, feasibility, financial credibility, and risk factor. This is the simple version of the selection criteria. And in the next slide, we will be able to see the detailed sub criteria for each of these selection criteria. So while you are writing your EOIs, make sure you always refer to this. And the first, if you go to the selection criteria, the relevance indicator and impact and added value indicators, these two will be weighted twice in the final scoring. So make sure your ideas is relevance, and then it has a measurable impact and added value. So that's some tips and tricks from us in PSU for you while preparing the EOIs. If we go to the next one. Then after we understand the how, of course, hopefully that your EOIs will be accepted. Then now we will talk about the funding disbursement process, or what is also cost that's eligible and non-eligible. So for the disbursement, it depends on the magnitude of your project financially. If it's up to and including 6,000 euros, then 80% will be claimed at outset when you start, and then up to 20% claim on completion. Of course, this after you submit of all the valid receipts and invoices. So if it's exceeds 6,000 euros, then 50% advance claim at outset, 30% at midpoint, and up to 20% claim upon completions. And once again, all this information is also available in the guidance note. Then we discussed a bit about this before, about costs that can be covered. If you remember there's this Excel sheet about cost planning. There is eligible and non-eligible costs. And then we can categorize also whether it's in-person activity or online activities. For in-person activities, travel costs within the eligible countries can be covered. Accommodation for non-local participants also can be covered. Catering, like lunch, refreshments, and also this is the last point is now quite important. We need to be able to make sure that our activities take into consideration the green activities. So if it's possible not to have any international flights, then it's more encouraged that local activities is prioritized. And if there is any needed for a visa or international flights, this can only be supported in exceptional circumstances, and this need to be agreed upfront with the service provider. Then what else? Any other eligible costs, as per usual, it needs to be, it could be approved on an ad hoc basis, but you need to be able to justify the needs of the cost, and then it needs to be agreed upon in advance. And of course, all should be within the overall budget limits. For online activities, the costs, on the online platform, for example, WebEx that we're using now will be covered, and then other expense needs to be justified first, and then this is also at an ad hoc basis and needs to be approved upfront. This is the non-eligible costs. As we are a volunteer based organization, the time of the volunteer cannot be paid. Subcontracted trainers, we also expect normally that would be delivered by the members or volunteers. But in case you invite a third-party trainers, then you could inform the service provider that their flights or their train costs that could be covered, but the time or their participation cannot be paid. And then budget modification, if there's any task or cost required prior to approval, they will not be reimbursed if it's, suddenly you modify the cost. That's why we emphasize that it needs to be approved upfront and then pre-agreed. Double funding, this is also not allowed. So if the activity has been funded by other EU funding means, then it should not be, or it cannot be covered by this call. For reporting requirements, of course, because this is an EU taxpayer money, we need to report all the activities that we do. And then there is a midpoint or interim activity report indicating the progress. If there's any issues or challenges that you have in your activity, and this applies if your activities is over 6,000 euros. And there's also, for the rest, there's a midpoint or interim financial report. And also, of course, you have to include all the invoices and receive to the level of the spend up until that point when you report. And then at the final stage, we explained in the beginning that there is a final report that you need to submit, and the latest submission would be on the January 10th. That should include all the achievement, the impacts, lesson learned throughout the activity that you initiated. All records needs to be kept. So the agendas, proof of participations, the signature logs, feedback from the participants, how to improve the activities in the future, and then evidence of impact, the numbers of prospective students reached, for example, or the numbers of alumni that at the end could support the current student on learning how to navigate in the job market. So the impact need to be measurable. And then the financial records and proof of cost incurred as well. And of course, at the communication and dissemination state, all your activities can be shared in the EMA website or social media, given that the standard of the dissemination that you prepare is in line with our social media and design guidelines. And then this is also an opportunity to collect information from the participants for testimonials, and this can be shared as well in our social media platform. That is a lot of information so far for the past half an hour. And now we invite you to share with us if you have any questions, doubts, or yeah, we will be more than happy to answer that.